The human eye is often compared to the camera, but it's much more than that because it captures, interprets, and adapts in a way that continues to amaze scientists. So to truly understand the photoreceptor area of the retina, we need to ask ourselves some surprising questions, and let's dive into the heart of what makes vision possible. So, got some questions for you. Number one, can a very bright light cause blindness? If no, why? And if yes, how? Number two, um, why is the image formed at retina uh, inverted and reversed? Why is it so? Like it's left, right, reversed, and upside down? Why? Is there any reason for that? And why do you think you move your eyes from point to point, from point one to point two? I mean, I know you say that you wanna look. It's like obvious. It's like obvious thing. Yes, I know it's obvious, but is there any reason from scientific point of view as far as the science of vision is concerned? And then lastly, wow, like amazing thing here, like why do you during the night or in a dark environment you see better at the object when you're not looking directly at it. So to truly these are just curious questions. They each point into truth, into deeper truth about how our eyes and brain work together. And to truly understand um, these questions, the answers lie in the photoreceptor area of the retina, where the vision begins. So this is the reason for why you need to stick with me to the end of the video, because you wanna find out the answers to these questions. And as I've said, the answers to this question lie in the photoreceptor area of the retina. Hi, it's Dr. Kenny, and let's begin. So, we have this layer of the eye. I mean, the globe is made up of three layers: the outermost, the middle, and the innermost. And today we're talking about the innermost layer of the eye, which is known as the retina. But we're not talking everything about retina. We are specifically talking about the photoreceptor layer of the retina. Retina has got almost 10 layers. It has got almost 10 layers, which are divided in three groups. And today we are just talking about the innermost layer, no, the photoreceptor layer of the retina, the photoreceptor layer of the retina. So, yes, I will say that this is the innermost layer of the eye, which is known as the retina, and the innermost layer of the retina occupies about 75% of the eye. So it's the posterior three quarter of the eye. That is retina, and at this point here is where the retina begins all the way this way, and it is it is bordered by the ciliary body here. So the junction between the ciliary body and the retina is known as ora serrata, and the serrata defines these zigzag lines, the C1 of this region. So that is known as ora serrata. And I've said the retina. So the retina is the innermost layer, and there is a photosensitive layer of the eye. The photosensitive layer of the eye means it is the one that detects and interprets the light, the light. And then another thing that I usually like to think about, I always like to think of retina as the wallpaper. You think of retina as the wallpaper, because I always think imagine the retina, like this is the globe, and then the retina is applied against the globe. It's like how you apply the wallpaper on the wall. It's just like how you apply the wallpaper on the wall. And so imagine from here to here on the posterior surface of the retina of the eye, and the retina is applied. So just like it behaves more or less like the wallpaper. Why? Because it can be sometimes it can be peeled off from the eye, just like how the wallpaper can, like, be torn or peeled off against the wall. The retina can also at times can also be detached or peeled from the rest of the globe, and that's what we call the retinal detachment. So the retina can be detached from the globe of the eye. So the retina is the photosensitive layer of the eye, and I will tell you today that the retina is extension of the brain. Is the extension of the brain. It's like the brain has got some appendages. It goes through the eye and forms the retina. So it's like a neural tissue. So and now, because the extension of the brain, and it kinds of interprets the right right and vision stuff, it's a beginning of the visual pathway. It's a beginning of the beautiful journey of the visual pathway. I know we are doing this today. We are talking about the photoreceptor area of the retina, because we are preparing ourselves to talk about the visual pathway in in videos to come. So let's now check, like, let's now navigate along the retina. So the retina so the retina has got, as it is said, it occupies the posterior three-quarter of the eye, and it has a lot of features. But number one, we have something here. We at the very central part of the retina. Remember, this is retina, for example. It occupies the posterior three-quarter of the eye, and with the very central part of the retina is known as macula lutea. It's known as the macula lutea. It has got a yellow spot. So the word macula lutea is a Latin word, which derived from two words. Number one, the macula, which means spot, and then we have the lutea, which means yellow. Remember about the corpus luteum, which meant the yellow body. So today we are talking of yellow spot, which is macula lutea, or the yellow spot. So as I've said, the very central part of the retina, as you're looking to the retina directly, the central part of the retina is known as macula lutea. Why? Because it has yellowish spot. It is a yellow spot. So it's somewhere here. Here's the very central part of the retina, which is known as the macula lutea. And then at this macula lutea, at this very central part of the retina, there is a depression. Like, this central part is known as the macula lutea, but there is a depression in this central part. This depression is known as the fovea, or the so-called fovea centralis. So some say fovea centralis, which basically means the same thing. So at the very central part of the macula lutea is where we have the fovea centralis. And why is this fovea centralis important? Because remember, I've told you, this is at the very center of the eye, the very, very, very center of the eye. Because that's significant. What does it mean? It means when I shine light, when I'm looking at the object directly, the light rays goes directly to the fovea centralis. In fact, it is at the visual axis. The visual axis. When you are looking at the object, all the light rays go to the fovea centralis, because it's at the center of the retina, the center of the macula, the center of the macula lutea. Yes, so that was what I was emphasizing about. And then now let's navigate along the retina. So we have something also here that is known as the optic disc. Here is the optic disc, and I tell you what, the optic disc. This is the retina. So the retina, it's like get itself together, and then it forms a nerve. It gets itself together, and then it forms the nerve. And then at this optic disc, is where the retina becomes, it is where the retina forms the optic nerve, and then this optic nerve leaves the globe, leaves the eye, so it leaves the eyeball, or it leaves the globe. So this is what we call the optic disc here, and then this is optic nerve. So the optic disc is the point where the optic nerve leaves the eye, and the optic nerve is bundled. It's like bundled together with the central artery of retina and the central vein of the retina. So these are the very, very, very important issue, and maybe at some point we discuss about all of this. But something which you can never ever forget is that the optic disc is always medial to fovea centralis. Is always medial to the macula lutea. So the optic disc is always medial to the macula lutea, and now at this point you can tell which eye is this. Which eye is this? Because this is the fovea, which is supposed to be lateral, and then this is optic disc, which is medial. So basically, this is just the right eye. That was just the right eye. So we have an opportunity, a very, very, very like golden chance or something, and I call it golden chance because it's the only time the human, I mean, in the daily activities or daily like stuffs, that you can witness the extension of the brain just externally. Like just externally, I'm using something to see the extension of the brain. So we have this procedure which is known as the fundoscopy or ophthalmoscopy, which is basically like viewing through your eye, and then you get an opportunity to visualize the retina. So the retina, as I've told you, is the extension of the brain, and they say it's the only thing that can be witnessed. It's the only brainy tissue, or the only extension of the brain that can be witnessed by, just without any kind of surgery, and that is what we call the fundoscopy. And at the fundoscopy, we're looking at the fundus. Or the back of the eye, where we get to see these structures around here. And as I've told you, this yellowish stuff here, this is what we call the macula lutea. The macula lutea was just the macula, and then at the very center of the macula we have the fovea centralis. We have the depression. Which is known as fovea centralis, and just medial to the macula of fovea centralis is where we said we have the optic disc, and the optic disc was just was the point where the optic nerve leaves the eyeball. And remember, we said it is bundled with blood vessels, the central artery of the retina, and the central vein of the retina. And yeah, so, and just I haven't told you just yet, but I can assure you that the optic disc by the way, the optic disc is known as the blind spot. It is known as the blind spot because it has got no photosensitive, the photoreceptors. It has got no photoreceptors, and this is why it is known as the blind spot. It's a blind spot of the eye. So, yeah, so this is just a pictorial presentation, but we have really human image. So this is a real image from fundoscopy, and now I think you can see this is a yellowish spot here. Maybe not very yellow as we expected, but it's what we refer to the macula lutea, and then it has got a depression which is known as the fovea centralis, and then now the optic disc is somewhere here, where is the point where the optic nerve leaves the eye, and then it has got a cap. Don't worry about the cap because the cap is just the center of the optic disc. And then we see these blood vessels, the central artery of the retina. And in summary, these four structures, these four stuffs what we usually like try to zoom in the retina so as to witness optic disc, blood vessels, the macula, and the retina. So retina, as I've told you, sometimes can like peel off the globe, like detaches from the globe, and then you can see through ophthalmoscopy or through fundoscopy that, well, we might have a problem here. The retina has detached itself. But as I've told you, like the optic disc is always medial to the macular tear. The optic disc is always medial to the macular tear. So I think you can now tell confidently which eye this and which eye is that one. So let's now discuss about these photosensitive cells, or the photoreceptors. Photosensitive cells or the photoreceptors. We will have two type of cells. Number one, we have rods, and then we have cones. This is just you have been talking about this even from high school, so it's not something new. So we have rods and we have cones. And generally, rods are very like numerous. So they are more numerous compared to cones. Ideally, an average human has got 91 million rods, which is very, very, very high number. So it is called rod because it's at least this the upper portion of it is made up of it's like cone shape. It's a rod shaped, and the rod we refer to the bar. It is a bar shaped. It's like it has the shape of the bar. So that's why it's called a cone. And it is highly sensitive to light as compared to cones. It is highly sensitive to light. What does it mean, sensitivity to light? It means even in a very like dim, in very low light settings, it can still be active. It is active also in a low level of light. This is why we call it light sensitive. It is very highly sensitive to light as compared to cones. Why? It can be active even in a dim amount of light. So that's it. And then one thing about rods, they have poor spatial and temporal resolution. Poor spatial and temporal resolution, and ultimately poor visual acuity. I think you can note this down. You should note this down. It has poor spatial resolution, poor temporal resolution, and poor visual acuity. I mean, I have a separate video that I have discussed about visual acuity, the spatial and temporal resolution. But in a nutshell, spatial resolution is the ability to see 2 points as separate. So I have 2 points, like I have two spots. Um, what can I use? For example, I have two spots. Assume that okay, I have this is M, this one, and yeah. So the ability to see this as a separate from this one is what we call the spatial resolution. So ability to see this one is different from this. Like these are two different points is what we call the spatial resolution. And then temporal resolution is ability to detect change over time. Ability to detect change over time. We will talk about this sometimes later. It's like a separate topic, maybe 15 minutes. We spend maybe 15 minutes talking about this stuff. And then the visual acuity is the clarity of the image that we are seeing. They are all like poor with rods. Poor with loads. And then the distribution of loads. The loads are distributed all over the, the retina, but they are deficient. They are almost absent at the very central part of the fovea centralis here. So you can see that we have, these are the loads, and this is the cones. So until we finish the whole region of the fovea centralis, there is no rod seen, and then we start to see rods somewhere around here, and then continue, because rods are they are numerous compared to cones, but at the fovea centralis this ratio like changes dramatically, so that the fovea centralis is exclusively populated by cones. Yeah, so let's now see a bit of history behind the roads or something? Because we have said the main function of the roads is vision in low light settings, and this is very like very important thing in the survival in the human kingdom, in the animal kingdom, because think about those very like in 15th century, for example. I mean, think about when, I mean, we know like the evolution tells us like we like evoluted. We came from animals, so we used to like live in jungles. We used to live in jungles. So we used to live in environments with dangerous animals and stuff. So this is like the way that we were made, like the way that we were adapted to this environment, like we were living outside. So even over the night we didn't have we depended on the moonlight, for example, natural light. We didn't have electricity by then. And then now, how would I know, like how would I be like, cautious with the environment, is by then these roads adapted to like over the night, because we have the dim amount of light, so they became like sensitive to light. Even the real amount of light that is found, it made these roads like active. Eh? So I think it was some way of survival, like adaptation to survive in the animal kingdom, because as I said, that's how it might have um it might have evolved. Now, see, the roads, they are poor in color detection. The roads are poor in color detection. They don't have that ability to differentiate color. So it basically what they do is the black and white stuff. So um, look at this. So it's a black and white. So I would like I at sometimes I mean at times I like to assume the loads as the very primitive ways of camera, for example. And remember in those years when we didn't have these digital cameras. We used to have these black and white cameras. They like produce black and white pictures, and so you'd like to assume that as LODs. Those were LOD, because they didn't have that ability to detect colors, so they have this poor color detection. So that's how I think about roads. So the black and white vision is also known as the scotopic vision. The scotopic vision. Now let's discuss about the cones. Well, the cones are generally less numerous as compared to rods. As we've seen, rods are about 91 million and cones are roughly 4.5 million. So it's like a ratio of 20 ratio 1. 20 ratio 1. But no, cones, it is known as cones because it has got like the shape of the cone upstairs here. It has got the shape of cones after upstairs here. And one thing about cone, one very important thing, of course, there's a lot of features, but one among the best features of them of cones is that it has got highest visual acuity. It has got highest visual acuity, and I've told you the visual acuity is the ability to see the clarity of the image. The clarity of the image you are seeing is what we call, roughly is what we call the visual acuity. Remember, I've told you we have like 10 minutes video discussing, maybe 15 minutes discussing about all this, but for today, just assume that it's the clarity of the image you are seeing. So, for example, between this image and this image has got a lot of details, like sharp details. The sharpness of the image is also what is referred to visual acuity. So, this one is more sharper. Yes, this one is more sharper. It's got a lot of details, but this one. It's hazy. It's hazy. I can't see clearly. So you might also want to assume you must also want to assume that this one is the high visual acuity is like iPhone or something. So you assume this iPhone, and then this one, what would you think it would be? Infinix or Techno or something? But Yeah, but jokes aside, this is highest visual acuity compared to this one. So the visual acuity is characteristic of cones. It's also a characteristic of cones. So it has this high visual acuity, but high spatial and temporal resolution. As I've told you in the previous slide, the ability to detect the difference between two pictures, like the difference between 2 points and the difference in time. And color detection, couldn't emphasize more about color detection. As you can see here, you have just seen the black and white stuff, black and white image in the previous slide, and now we are seeing the colored picture in cones. So I would like to assume the cones are the most digital, the most advanced digital cameras that we are using nowadays, and rods are the very primitive, like very ancient kind of cameras that they've been used in years ago. So maybe you think about these two in that way, it makes a lot of sense in a modern world. Now see, the cones they are found all over the retina, but at the fovea centralis there is no load at all. There is no single load at the fovea, at the very central part of the fovea centralis. So the load cones are exclusively populated at the Fovea centralis, exclusively populated at the Fovea centralis. And remember what we've just said here, like the cones are the one with the good quality of image. So if you want a good quality of image, you must call cones into action. So if you want a good quality of image, the good quality of vision, you must almost all the time you have to use your cones. So at the fovea centralis is where we have a lot of cones, which means at the fovea centralis is where we have the good quality of the image. At the fovea centralis is where we have a good quality of image. So we have the highest visual acuity at the fovea centralis, and this is spatial and temporal resolution as well as color detection at the fovea centralis. So and one drawback about the cones is that they have poor light sensitivity. The poor light sensitivity is one among the features of the cones. We have seen that the rods have got a good light sensitivity. They are very sensitive to light. They are very sensitive to light as compared to cones. Yeah. So what is sensitivity to light? I've already told you, like the ability to be active in a low level of light. So low light setting, the ability to be active, or the activity in a dim amount of light, or in a low level of light. So cones are very poor. They are very poor. So that if you wanna compare between cones and loads, number one, according to the number, loads are generally more numerous than cones in that ratio, and then distribution, as we've seen, like loads and cones are all found all over the retina, but at the fovea centralis we have a big number of cones as compared to rows. And then on the peripheral retina, this is the peripheral, so this is the central retina, and then this is the peripheral retina. The peripheral of the retina, we have a lot of rods compared to cones. So the ratio is maintained on the periphery of the retina, but the ratio is changed dramatically at the fovea centralis. But about the light sensitivity, well, rods are very light sensitive compared to cones, and the visual acuity, the quality, all these three stuffs we are talking about, the quality of the image, the visual acuity, color detection, and these resolutions, they are exclusively like distinctive features of the cones. And lastly, and then day and night activity, as I've said, over the in the dim amount of light is where we have highest activity of rods. And then the cones only work over the day when you have a good amount of light, and a good level of light. So you would also like to think of this as iPhones and Samsung or something, because you see in iPhone sometimes they say that it takes the best, it captures best pictures when over the sun. If during the during the day, like Sunday or something. But they say sometimes, I don't know, I'm not sure about this, but they say the Samsung can take a picture even in a dim amount of light, even in over the night, can take a good quality of picture. So think of this in that way, and then please, that was just so jokes aside, but that's what we mean by the two. So now let's now dive into the questions that we were meant to answer today. So number one, so why do you think you move your eyes when you're looking at something? For example, this is a picture here. Uh, this is the globe, and then I am looking at this direction particularly, but I want to look at this object here. So the question is, why do I have to turn my eyes to look at this? I mean, I know you will tell me that, okay, so I want to look at it. Then what? No, I know you want to look, but talk scientifically. Scientifically talking now, I am looking at this point. What does it mean? It means that the information from this visual space goes exactly at the fovea centralis. It's at the visual axis, so it goes exactly at the fovea centralis. And what did we talk about the fovea centralis? The fovea centralis is exclusively populated of cones, and so the cones has got the good quality of image, okay. So I am getting a good quality of image from this visual space. What does it mean? I have an object here. So from this object, it means the light rays from this object will go to this portion, to this part of the retina, to this part of the retina. And this part of the retina, in terms of photoreceptors, it is populated more by rods. And what did we say about rods? They have poor quality of image. Poor quality of image. So poor visual acuity, poor raw spatial, and and it's black and white stuff. So in general, we have poor quality of image from this angle. So when I'm looking at this direction and then I want to see this stuff here, it means if I don't turn my eyes, I will use exclusive rods, and the rods have this poor quality of image. But I don't want. I want to get a good quality of image. So what do I have to do? I have to turn my eyes to face that stuff. And then when I'm turning my eyes, it means that all the light rays from this object falls at the fovea centralis. And what do we have with the fovea centralis? We have cones. We have cones. And what did we say about the cones? Highest visual acuity, high spatial and temporal resolution, as well as color detection. So in short, at the fovea centralis, I get the best image ever. So the reason for why I wanna change my eyes direction or something is because I want all the light rays to fall at fovea centralis. Why? Because at the fovea centralis is where we have exclusively a good number of cones, and the cones they are known by their good quality of image. So compared to this one, maybe that's just comparison. So that was question number one. So let's go to question number two. So why during the night you see better the objects, when you're not looking directly at the object? So we go back to square one. Number one, see the stem of the question, the night, during the night, and then not looking directly. So these are the basic these are the guiding stuff. So number one, over the night, because it's a night, it means we have a low amount of light. We have low amount of light. And if we have low amount of light, what do you think? Which photoreceptors are sensitive to light? So that would be cones, right? And then in cones, what did we say about cones? Sorry, it's rods, rods. And what did we say about loads? Because we said loads, the loads the loads have highest light sensitivity, like they're very sensitive to light, but they have poor visual acuity. So highest light sensitivity and poor visual acuity. But I tell you what, during the night, during that dark environment, you don't need the high quality of image. All what you need is to like some amount of light, just a little amount of light, and then you utilize it. So over the night, you need something which is very, very highly sensitive to light for you to be able to see. So, and what is this? What is this sensitive stuff? It's rods. Rods. So the rods are very, very sensitive to light. And then, so what does it mean? It means now, where do we find these rods? The rods are not found at the fovea centralis. They are found at the peripheral of the retina. The periphery of the retina. The periphery of the retina is where we find rods. So what does it mean? It means over the night, in low amount of light, if I am looking direct at the object, means all these light rays from that object goes to the fovea centralis, and the fovea centralis is exclusively populated of cones, and cones they have poor light sensitivity, so they are very less sensitive to light, and then I will not be able to see that object over the night. So what do I need to do? So what do I need to do? I need to at least as I've said, they have poor quality of light cones, which are, when you look directly at the object, despite of having all this good quality stuff, but they are not active. So they have all this good stuff, but they are not active. So because they are poorly sensitive to light, so means I will need to turn eyes to a little bit gaze at a different direction. And then when I'm looking at different direction, means light rays from this object goes to the peripheral of the retina, and at the peripheral of the retina is where we have a lot of rods. And what did we say about rods? They have a high light sensitivity. Even in low amount of light, they can still be active. So that is it. That was it about the second question. Now we are moving to the third question. So why is the image formed on the retina inverted and reversed? The inverted and reversed. Why do we have left right? Why is it left right reversed, and why is it inverted? So think of it. Then now let's go back. Well, number one, the image that is formed will be left right reversed. You see here. This image, the right part of the image goes to the left part of the retina, maybe let's say retina, and then the left part of the vision of the object goes to the right part of the retina, and doesn't go that way. Then it is like it is inverted, like upside down. So upside down, this is what exactly happens at the retina. And I know we know this from even O-level, and when we were talking about the characteristics of images formed at the retina, or the image formed by the camera or something, we used to say it is inverted and left right reversed. But today I am about to tell you what is really happening here. So number one, think about, so this is what has just happened, and then this is just remember, this was horizontal section. Sorry if I didn't tell you, this is a horizontal section, and this here is a surgical section. So this is a surgical section, and this is a horizontal section. So remember, we have, this is iris. So this is an iris of iris, and this is also an iris. And iris is we can say is opaque. It does not allow light to go through. And remember, we have iris. So this is like iris. This one is an iris, and then the iris. This is an iris, and this is an iris, and it has got a gap. It has got a gap, like a hole in it. That hole is what we call the pupil. The pupil. So the pupil is the only way the light will get to the eye. The pupil is the only way that light will get to the eye. This is why we have different levels of the pupil. Like we can have constricted pupil and a dilated pupil to allow a good amount of light to go through the eye. So the pupil is the only way the light will go to the eye. So what does it mean? It means if I'm shining, like if I'm shining right, I mean if light goes through the pupil, through the iris, it will not go through. I mean, we wanna make sense. We wanna make sense of why we get this kind of creep of the image. We wanna make sense of it. So pay attention. We were supposed, ideally, what we were thinking about, where we were we expected like light rays. I mean, the image, this part of the retina, this part of the object would be at the same side of the retina, and so does on the other side will be on the same side of the retina. But this is not happening. Why? Number one, because this side to be on this side, and then this side also to be on the same side. This is what basically what meant. But this is not happening because of two things. Number one is because the light rays from this side cannot go through the iris. Why? Because the iris is opaque. The only way it has to go through the pupil. So the light cannot go through this way, neither the other way. So what does it mean? It means that that partly explains for why. So that partly explains for why. Because now the light cannot go through the iris, so it has to only go through the pupil. So the retina is organized itself. It has organized itself in such a way that it has told this part, okay, you like it's like a distribution of fiber or something. Like, okay, you should observe the right side of the image. So it has told this one, because this one is capable of looking from this angle. Why? Because at this angle is where where the light rays can pass through the pupil. So it has told this part to concentrate on this side of the image, and then it has told this part also to concentrate on the other side of the image. Do you try to understand what I mean here? Like because the light rays here cannot pass through the iris, it cannot go through the iris. So the only way of light getting here is using the pupil. Here. And so the retina has organized itself in such a way that it has told this the left part of the retina to concentrate on the right part of the retina, and the right part of on the right part of the visual space, and then it has told the right part of the retina to concentrate on the left part of the visual space, so that it does not miss anything concerning the image. It does not miss anything concerning the visual space, concerning the object. So it has made that possible, right, to look at like the visual space of what we're seeing, because otherwise it would be possible. We have this very small pupil, and then how do we get that to see all this universe here? You have a very small pupil, and then how possible can you see this grass? How possible can you see this grass? Because it would be possible, it would be impossible, right? So that's how it is organized. And then it is like also in a vertical orientation the same. Also in a vertical orientation, it is organized in such a way that, okay, the lower part of the retina will take the information from the higher visual space, and the upper part of the retina will take the information from the lower visual space. Why? Because same applies. The light from the upper part of the visual space cannot go through the iris. The only way is to go through the pupil, and then same applies. The information from the lower visual space cannot go through the iris, so it has to go through the pupil, and once it goes through the pupil, it means it will go on the upper part of the retina. This is the main reason for why we have inversion, like left right reversed, and upside down imaging. I think I have made myself clear. And if not, please, you can just write me in the comment. You can ask, you can give me some questions. So I think that is the that's the main reason for why we have this one, is because we don't want to miss anything from the visual space. We don't have to miss, so it's like kind of organized. So you take, and then yeah, that's how it goes. So going to the last part. Can a very bright light cause blindness? Can a very bright light cause blindness? The answer to this is yes, and it is also known as the photochemical damage. The photochemical damage of the retina, the photosensitive layer, the retina, and how we say it is by oxidative stress. It is by oxidative stress, which is starting to damage of these photoreceptor cells, which are the rods and cones, basically. And then now, if you wanna see what kind of light can result into, you know, oxidative stress or photochemical damage. So when you take a look at the visible light spectrum, you will see that we have low EG So this part of the spectrum is the one with the highest energy, because it has got highest frequency. It has got the highest frequency. And if you guys remember, we said energy equals to HF, where H is Planck's constant. So energy is proportional to the frequency. So the higher the frequency, the higher the energy. So to this end of the spectrum is where we can have photochemical damage. When we are exposed to this layer, to this amount, this maybe part of the light, for example, we are at risk of getting photochemical damage. So whether it's like we expose a very bright light at once, or in a very for example, blue light. For example, when we expose a blue light for a considerate amount of time, for a considerable amount of time, can result into photochemical damage. So, for example, staring at the sun with no any protective equipment can result into solar retinopathy, and this is what I've just told you, because it causes the oxidative stress. I will not dive into the deep biochemistry about it, but I mean, the simple way to explain is just oxidative stress. But you can but another thing, wedding acts, activity like a wedding acts, when you don't have this the protective shield, can result into photochemical damage, because we have, this is the violet, but we have ultraviolet, but they are stronger than violet. That's why they are called ultraviolet. They are stronger than violet, and the example of it is these welding arcs, because they are very stronger than violet, so they can damage, even if you expose it once, they can damage a good number of photoreceptors cells of your retina. Yeah, so okay, so all this, even also these welding arcs, they can cause the thermal we call thermal damage, and so you have to like always wear the protective equipment when you are doing this welding stuffs. So are we safe from our phones? Well, phones are generally safe. But of course, phones and computers, they also have this blue light. Which has considerable amount of energy, because it belongs to this side of the spectrum. So it belongs to this side of the spectrum, so it has got some considerate amount of energy, but they are generally safe, but you have to use them with caution. Because they also have this blue light. So there's this rule they call 20 20 and 20 rule. So 20 minutes, after every 20 minutes, you take a 20-second break looking 20 feet away. So 20 minutes 20-minute break. 20 minutes exposure, 20 seconds break, and you look 20 seconds, 20 feet away. So that was it about the photoreceptor side of the retina. But I got a little surprise for you. Did you know, right, the retina is metabolically very expensive, a most metabolically expensive tissue in the human body? What? Yes, because it consumes oxygen like no any other tissue can do. So it consumes a very it consumes oxygen at a very it's a very rapid way, like any other tissue. So that was it. Then now let's look some few clinical scenarios and make sure you write me answers. Make sure you write me answers in the comment section. Now, number one. So we have a 17-year-old boy. He notices that he can't focus clearly on objects unless he looks directly at them. So which of the following best explains why humans instinctively move their eyes to fixate on objects of interest? So that is number one question, and make sure you write me answers in the comment section. Number two. So while walking at night, a man notices he sees a distant object more clearly when he looks slightly to the side rather than directly at it. So what is the most likely reason for this? Make sure you also write me in the comment section. Yeah, so back to square one, back to all where we began. These were the questions, and I hope these questions not only challenged your knowledge but also sharpened your clinical thinking. So understanding how we see is more than just anatomy. It's a journey through physics, neurology, and perception. And please note that the vision begins at the retina, but insight starts in the brain. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And